self-proclaimed Canadian, Beorn White grew up across 3 provinces and has been calling the townships home since 1996. In 2007, he graduated from Bishop's University with a BA in History and a Bachelor's of Education. Shortly thereafter, he started working at BCS as a social science teacher and has been sharing his passion for Canadian history, rock climbing, squash, and grown-worthy dad jokes with our community ever since. Bjorn and his wife Sabrina live in Lennoxville with their 3 children, Parker, Crosby, and Hudson.
Okay, well, let's pick the first one and see what happens here. What did you want to be when you grew up? Oh, this is such a good question. I always wanted something exciting. I always wanted to be sort of, living that adventure, adrenaline lifestyle. I don't know if there was any one specific choice. I spent a long time as a mountain bike racer, so that was interesting. Spent a lot of time skiing, so I wanted to be a professional skier. Probably anything like that was sort of adventure-filled and thrill-seeking. Ooh, were you the class clown growing up? I'd like to say that Mr. White has not always been the most mature student in the classroom. There have been occasions and opportunities where I did things that were relatively silly, but I am very pleased to say that those days are behind me. Tell us about your scarf collection. Oh, this is interesting. So I have a bunch of different soccer scarves, and I wear them to work on occasion, and the students will notice which club that I happen to be wearing the scarf of. And it started off with 2 or 3, but as the students saw the club that I was wearing, they felt that I should be supporting their team. So they would start bringing in a scarf and giving them to me for Christmas. And then once, of course, I started getting more and more, then it started to be a competition because I was supporting one student's club team and not the other student's club team. So then he would bring in a scarf for me to wear. And so now I have a number of Premier League scarves that I wear from time to time, and very much enjoy having all of the different ones. And of course, the students then brings out conversations and interactions about, who's a good player and who's not a good player and why would I be supporting this particular team. What is your favorite place in the world? I've traveled all across Canada. I've traveled the world in certain places, not all of the places. I would honestly say of all of the places in the world to live, I think the Eastern Townships is where I want to be. It's got that mix of being warm and hot in the summer. You go swimming, go to the beach, do all of these things. In the winter, we get lots of snow. There's ski hills nice and close by. I mean, there's just so much to love about where we live that I think that's definitely my favorite place in the world. That's it. All right, well, it's time for bucket 2. Let's see what this brings us. What is your personal philosophy? I always try to make sure that I am taking other people into consideration when making decisions or trying to do something. I don't know if I have a personal philosophy beyond just try to be kind to others. And I find that that's a pretty good one. It's been serving me well. Ooh, if you had a family business, what would it be? A very good question, and I have the perfect family business for my family. We would definitely be in renovations. My children, we would give them safety equipment, of course, but hard hats and helmets and sledgehammers and all of these things, and they would be the demolition crew. They would go through and knock down all of the walls and take out all of the stuff. My wife would be an excellent interior decorator, designer. She'd have all the plans. And I am, of course, the grunt worker. I go in and I make all the plans happen. I put it all back together after everybody else is done. But after all the experience we have at home, I think my family would be very good at that job. Share some good news. What is the most uplifting thing happening in the world right now? I just had this conversation with my students, actually. We were talking about how in the next 15 to 20 years, the first, maybe even sooner, but the first manned mission to Mars will occur. Obviously, as a history teacher, we always talk about famous people in history. We talk about the Da Vinci's, the Michelangelos. We talk about Darwin. We talk about all of these famous people. And I've been telling them that this is their opportunity to go down in the history books as the first people to Mars. I think that a lot of my students that are sort of 14 to 16, 17 years old are right in that right demographic that they could potentially be part of that group to Mars and make history. right? They could go down in the history books. Students would need to memorize their names. Their hometowns would put a statue of them in the town square. And I think that is exciting. All right, time for level 3. Let's see what happens. If you could go back in time, what year would you travel to? I would have to go back to the dinosaurs. Yeah, I think I would have to go back to a Paleolithic or even earlier period, sort of early man, or even before that, walking with the dinosaurs. I think that would be very, very cool. As long as it's a return trip, of course, because I don't want to get eaten while I'm there. What is your definition of success? Being true to yourself, I think, is probably the definition of success. Making sure that you are being the best person that you can be from day to day, recognizing the times that you haven't been necessarily a good person, and making those changes. And I think that self-awareness is what defines success. It doesn't have anything to do with money. It doesn't even have anything to do with the car you drive or the house that you live in. I think it's more about you as a person, and understanding yourself and your drives and your determinations and what is interesting to you, what is something that you're passionate about. The more comfortable and more understanding you are of yourself, the more successful you'll be. Whoa. One left. What would you most like to tell yourself at age 13? Oh, 13-year-old Bjorn, you were such an awkward child. I would say the first thing is that it's okay to have a mullet. Even if the kids are teasing you, it's still cool. 1980s, by the way. I would also tell myself not to really worry in that line about what other people say and think about you. That just go out there, be yourself, be confident. The things that are meant to be will happen, and that not to worry about the people around you and what they might think or what they might say, or worried about whether or not you're fitting in or whether or not people think you're cool. That none of that really matters in the end, and that it's really going to be okay.
The name of the game is BCS Trivia. You ready to play?
I'm ready to play.
All right, timer starts now. Name all the houses.
Chapman, Smith, McNaughton, Greer South, Greer North, Williams, Ross, Gillard, Glass.
The new one.
Oh, Mitchell. Family house, yes.
What year was BCS founded?
1836.
Who founded BCS?
Reverend Doolittle.
What year did KHC merge with BCS?
1972.
What does KHC stand for?
Kings Hall Compton.
Nice! You're actually our new record holder.
Yeah, my bad on the Mitchell. Whoops.
All right.
Well.